For the millions of people waiting in line in the employment-based and family-based categories, Visa Bulletin predictions give them an idea of when they will be able to apply for and obtain green cards. The State Department has issued the March Visa Bulletin. The government estimates that 197,000 green cards will be available to persons in the employment categories in fiscal year 2023, down from 281,507 in FY 2022, but 57,000 higher than the 140,000 mandated by law as the result of 57,000 unused family-based green cards in fiscal year 2022. The State Department Visa Bulletin, February 2023 shows backlogs in getting green cards in both the family and the employment-based categories. The time that it will take you to get a green card depends on the category of your petition and your country of birth. The Visa Bulletin is updated on a monthly basis. Family-based categories, Visa Bulletin predictions for April 2023. These Visa Bulletin predictions are estimates based on recent movement in the family-based categories and should not be relied upon as legal advice. They indicate how far forward the final action dates may advance in the coming month. F1. Unmarried adult sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. Mexico, no movement. Philippines, no movement. All other countries, no movement. F2A, spouses and minor, unmarried sons and daughters of LPRs. Mexico, no movement. All other countries, slight retrogression. F2B, unmarried adult sons and daughters of LPRs. Mexico, no movement. Philippines, no movement. All other countries, no movement. F3, married adult sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. Mexico, no movement. Philippines, no movement. All other countries, no movement. F4, brother and sisters of U.S. citizens. Mexico, no movement. India, no movement. Philippines, no movement. All other countries, no movement. Numbers for the family-based preference categories. F1 unmarried adult sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, 23,400 plus any numbers not required for fourth preference. F2 spouses and children, and unmarried sons and daughters of permanent residents, 114,200 plus the number, if any, by which the worldwide family preference level exceeds 226,000, plus any unused first preference numbers. F2A spouses and children of permanent residents, 77% of the overall second preference limitation, of which 75% are exempt from the per-country limit. F2B unmarried adult sons and daughters of permanent residents, 23% of the overall second preference limitation. F3 married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, 23,400 plus any numbers not required by first and second preferences. F4 brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens, 65,000 plus any numbers not required by first three preferences. Employment-based categories, Visa Bulletin predictions for April 2023. These Visa Bulletin predictions are estimates based on recent movement in the employment-based categories and should not be relied upon as legal advice. EB1 Priority workers. India, no movement. China, no movement. All other countries remain current. EB2 members of the professions holding advanced degrees or persons of exceptional ability. India, no movement. China, no movement. All other countries, no movement. The State Department provides the following guidance regarding the EB2 category. Since December 2022, there has been higher than expected number use and demand, mostly due to continued new filings by applicants from all countries with priority dates earlier than the established final action dates. This will necessitate corrective action in the coming months to hold number use within the maximum allowed under the fiscal year 2023 annual limit. This situation will be continually monitored, and any necessary adjustments will be made accordingly. EB3 professionals and skilled workers. India, no movement. China, no movement. All other countries remain current. The State Department provides the following guidance regarding the EB3 category. Increased demand in the employment third category may necessitate the establishment of a worldwide final action date, including Mexico and Philippines, in the coming months to hold number Us within the maximum allowed under the fiscal year 2023 annual limit. The State Department provides the following guidance regarding the EB4 category. In the December 2022 Visa Bulletin, EB4 final action and application filing dates were established for rest of world countries, China, India, and Philippines in response to high demand. Number use and demand in this category have continued to increase, which necessitates further retrogression of the final action dates and application filing dates for rest of world countries as well as China, India, Mexico, and Philippines, to hold number Us within the maximum allowed under the fiscal year 2023 annual limit. The State Department provides the following guidance regarding the EB5 category. In the October 2022 Visa Bulletin, a final action date and application filing date were established in the Employment Fifth Preference Unreserved, including C5, T5, I5, and R5, category for India to keep number Us within the maximum allowed under the FY 2023 annual limit. Number use and demand has been higher than anticipated at the start of this fiscal year, so further retrogression has become necessary. For March, the final action date for the EB5 unreserved category for India is set at June 1, 18. Numbers for the employment-based preference categories. EB1 priority workers, 28.6% of the worldwide employment-based preference level, plus any numbers not required for fourth and fifth preferences. EB2 members of the professions holding advanced degrees or persons of exceptional ability, 28.6% of the worldwide employment-based preference level, plus any numbers not required by first preference. EB3 skilled workers, professionals, and other workers, 28.6% of the worldwide level, plus any numbers not required by first and second preferences, not more than 10,000 of which to *other workers. EB4 certain special immigrants, 7.1% of the worldwide level. EB5 employment creation, 7.1% of the worldwide level, of which 32% are reserved as follows. 20% reserved for qualified immigrants who invest in a rural area, 10% reserved for qualified immigrants who invest in a high unemployment area, and 2% reserved for qualified immigrants who invest in infrastructure projects. The remaining 68% are unreserved and are allotted for all other qualified immigrants. The 7% per country cap. For the family and employment preference categories, the law imposes a limit on how many immigrants from any particular country can receive green cards in a given year. No country can receive more than 7% of the total number of EB and FB preference visas in a given year. There are no per-country limits for immediate relatives of U.S. citizens. Because of the numerical caps and per-country caps on certain green card categories, there are significant weights for some categories, with sharper effects on a few countries. The wait for U.S. citizens to sponsor their brothers and sisters is more than 15 years for most parts of the world, but is 20 years for siblings from the Philippines and more than 22 years for those from Mexico. There are millions of people waiting in line abroad for family-sponsored green cards. There are hundreds of thousands of people waiting employment-sponsored green cards. Most of these persons are residing in the U.S. on temporary working visas.